Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into today's webinar. So this is a pre-release webinar you've tuned into, and I'm glad to introduce you to our exciting feature, which is yet to be released. So we're aiming to release this feature in the next couple of weeks. So just a quick round of introduction before we get started. So my name is Nikhil. I'm one of the customer success managers for ServiceDesk Plus Cloud, and I'm very excited in introducing you to the workflow concept and capabilities we'll be introducing and extending to incidents, service requests, problems, and the asset management module in the upcoming weeks for ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. Now, let's take a look at the agenda. So in today's webinar, we're going to see how exactly can you get started with the workflow capabilities in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. And we are also going to discuss about the different types of nodes which are available within the workflows you can leverage for your day-to-day practices and processes. And we are also going to see how best these workflows can be associated with the existing templates and existing practices you are currently following. And we also have a Q&A session during the very end of this webinar, where in case you have any questions or doubts, I will be able to answer them. So for those of y'all who are new to the workflow concept and to the lifecycle concept, let me give you a quick heads up on the current workflow automation landscape we have. So we have Lifecycles, which is available for the request module, problem module, and the asset management module as of now in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. And we have workflows, which are currently available for changes and the release management module, right? So to give you a quick differentiation between life cycles and workflows, so life cycles is a feature which helps you govern the way your technicians work on their day-to-day requests or during their asset management process or asset handling process. And during every status change or during every step in the process, you will have to initiate the automation through a manual touch point, what's called as a transition in your life cycle, right? Basically guiding your technicians handling of the process. And in workflows, you get to ensure that you have a seamless automation of the ITSM practices, and workflows will be available for incidents, service requests, problems, assets, along with what workflows are currently available right now, which is for changes and releases. So workflows are basically end-to-end automation. So workflows check for a particular set of parameters or conditions you want to check, and workflows can get initiated automatically without having any manual touch points like how you have in the life cycle, right? And a quick note before we move further to the demo part of today's webinar. So just note that if in case you already have life cycles and if you want to introduce workflows as well, you can't introduce both for the same let's say template or for the same process. You can use either the life cycle or the workflows, right? So we'll be seeing how exactly these associations fall in place as in when we course through this particular webinar. So in a workflow, you can ensure that you have different processes, including different nodes to carry out several condition checks, several notifications, approvals, automation, etc. And that could be, like I said, for incidents, service requests, problems, changes, releases, and for the asset management module. So workflow has a canvas where you can drag and drop several nodes. It's a no-code canvas where you can involve your entire process. It could be a major incident management process. It could be a major change process or an emergency change process. It could be a problem identification process or a release process, or it could be your entire asset lifecycle process you want to automate and involve through workflows, right? It's very simple. I'm going to show you how you can build a workflow and how you can associate it to your existing process. And please note that the different types of workflows and nodes you'll be seeing today differs from edition to edition and from subscription to subscription. So I will probably give you a highlight as and when we go through the next few slides. So the custom function part, which I'm going to talk about, which is the low code automation, which can be dragged and dropped as one of the nodes within the workflow, is available only in the enterprise edition. And we also have Zoho Circuit, which is also available in the enterprise edition, which can be added within your workflow to ensure that you have complex workflows and complex automations for your service operations. So I'll share a few examples. So you might find these words pretty new. So I'll give you a few examples as we go through the demo so that you can think about where exactly these features can help you automate, and you can write to us and we can help you with configuring the entire set of automation for you. So workflows are highly scalable and programmable with these options which are available to you. The first one being flow nodes, then you have condition nodes, action nodes, Zoho circuit, and branch nodes. Now, if you're new to all of this and if you want to see where exactly this is available, let me give you a quick preview on where this is available. So when you navigate to your workflow, on the right-hand side panel, you will find the drag and drop nodes. So for those of y'all who are already using the change management module for your workflows and the release workflows, you will be you'll be already aware of what is available on the right hand side panel. For those of you all who are new, this is a quick sneak peek on how exactly the workflow looks like, and this is being introduced for incidents, services, problems, and for assets as well. And you will have the drag and drop nodes. So this is what I was talking about. So you'll have flow nodes, which involve statuses. You have condition nodes where you can check for various conditions or parameters. You have action nodes where you can trigger notifications, field updates, etc. You have Zoho circuit to automate several business processes. And you have branch nodes where you can ensure that you have parallel executions instead of SQL executions, depending on how exactly you want the process to be set up. And you have a join, which joins back all of the forked operations and ensures that the workflow moves towards the next step or the next stage. Right, so that's the drag and drop node I was talking about. So we have several workflow nodes which differs from various ITSM practices. So here are a few common nodes which are available in all ITSM practices. So we have what is called as flow nodes, which is the first one you see over here. It's going to be termed different for different types of workflows you create. So for the request module or for the request workflow, the flow node will be called as status. For change and release, we'll be calling it as stages. And for the asset workflow, we'll be calling it as states, right? And the condition nodes are common, the action nodes are common, and the branch nodes are common across all the ITSM practices and all of the workflows. So we have if, wait for, and switch as node conditions, as condition nodes. And then we have notifications, field updates as action nodes. And this will be available only in the on all the editions, and the custom function and webhooks will be available only in the enterprise edition. I'm just giving you a quick heads up in case you want to know how exactly you can avail all of these features. Please drop a note on the chat, or you can probably write to us to one of our support email addresses. All right, and then we have the branch nodes, which is available in pretty much all of the workflows you will be creating. And here are the nodes which are specific to individual ITSM practices. So we have timers and tasks, which are action nodes available across all of the modules and all of the workflows you'll be creating. You have condition nodes, which is a resource which is available only for service requests. For instance, if you're in the standard edition, you will not have the service catalog, so you will not be able to create a service request workflow, and you will not be able to make use of the resource node. So as and when you course through the demo, if you are interested in involving all of these features, once again, we'd love to help you. So likewise, we have Zoho circuit, which is currently available in the for the incidents. We have Zoho circuits for service requests and for changes. Once again, the Zoho circuit piece will be available in the enterprise edition as of now. Right. So moving forward, I'm going to show you a quick preview of how exactly a workflow can sit between all of these ITSM practices and how best you can create and get started with your first brand new workflow, right? So without further ado, let me just navigate back to the application. So I've currently logged in as an admin in the application. And when I navigate to the setup area, this is how it looks like. When you navigate to automation, you will have workflows as one of the options. So initially under workflows, we only had change and release. So after this upcoming release, which is due in the next couple of weeks, we will have this introduced. And this is how the workflow dropdown will look like. So you can create workflows moving forward for incidents, service requests, problems, and assets apart from the change and releases, right? So let me start with the service request management first. So this is a quick example I have developed to showcase how exactly an onboarding process can be automated for you using the workflow editor. Right. So the workflow editor will look exactly the same as the change workflow editor even when you're creating one for be it incidents or for a service or for an asset. It's just that the different node types will vary, just like how I explained in the previous slide. Right. So when the onboarding workflow starts, as in when I create a brand new request for my onboarding, the status will be in the open status. The request status will be in open, and from there I've configured an approval. Based on the approval, it then navigates to the next status, which is in progress, and then it checks for a few more conditions. Right. So I have a couple of features I've added over here. Let me just drag and navigate this so that you get a clear view. So as and when it moves to in progress, I have a fork which initiates one particular branch which checks for the mobile. So do I require a mobile or no? So that's one parameter I check here. And does the employee require a laptop is something I check here. And then it drives forward to various other nodes, right? So this is how the workflow looks like. And I will be showing this to you. I'll be showing a working model in just a couple of seconds from now. So we have multiple conditions we are going to take a look at today. And in case you have any requirements to onboard your different processes, please let us know, and we'd love to help you. So let me show a working model of this exact workflow, and let me show you how exactly it branches off using the fork, and then it joins back using the join nodes. We're also going to see how exactly the approvals, the notifications, tasks, and several other automation can be dragged and dropped as different nodes within the workflow canvas as well. Right. So let me navigate one step back to the request list view. So this is where we will log new requests. So let me initiate a new request for the employee onboarding to see how exactly this workflow works in real time. So I'm going to show you a working model before I break down the different components and different capabilities we have in this particular workflow. So to start off with, I'm going to raise a request in real time. So I've chosen the new employee onboarding template. I'm just choosing a few values over here. So I'm choosing the first name. So let me call this new user as Nikhil. The last name is just my initial, which is S. The region is US. So let's say the date of joining is on the 15th. You're just going to click on apply. And then this is the next set of additional fields. Is mobile required? Is laptop required? Etc. And based on these values I enter over here, the workflow will then check for the yes or no conditions and then drive forward, which we're going to see in a couple of seconds, right? I'm just filling in the next set of mandatory fields, device peripherals required and access permissions required for the permanent employee. I'm just giving all values as yes. I'm choosing a requester's name, because it's mandatory. As you can see, the subject is auto-populated. You then have a few resource information questions. So it's asking me to choose the OS type. So let me choose Mac as the OS type and the mobile type as iOS. It also asks me for the access required. So let me choose create AD account and provisioning as the access, and let me add a new request. So once this is done, on the top right corner, you'll have the workflow button, where you can click on the workflow button to see where exactly you are at any point of time as in when you're working on the request, right? So now I've initiated the request. The request was in the open status, and as you can see, I have a push notification for an approval, which we are currently at right now. Right. So when I navigate back one step, and when I click on tasks, you'll see that there are no tasks found over here. When I navigate to the approvals, you'll notice that I have one approval and it is pending for the workflow execution. So I'm just going to click on approve here and pass the approval, which is the initial reporting manager approval based on the workflow configuration. So now the ticket will move to in progress, and from in progress, it will then check for this branch node. It'll check if I need the mobile, it'll check if I need the laptop, and depending on what laptop and what mobile I need, which is Mac and iOS, it'll then trigger a couple of approvals as well. And as and when these approvals are granted, it'll then move forward to the next step. So now let's take a look at the task. So we have one task which was added, and we have a couple of approvals which are pending. So let me just open the workflow again to show you where exactly we're at. So as you can see, the blue highlights, so this is indicating where exactly we are at in the workflow. So it checked for the laptop, we gave the value as yes. It checked for the mobile, we gave the value as yes. So it navigated to the next set of questions. So these were the resource questions. As you can see, this is a resource switch. It's asking if it was a Mac or a Linux. So since we provided Mac, it then navigated to the next node, which is an approval node. And this is a Mac approval, laptop approval request. So since we chose iOS, it's waiting for an Apple mobile approval request. So once these approvals are granted, it would then move forward to provide laptop task and the provide mobile task as the next steps, right? So right now we have one task which was added, which was this task. So depending on the device peripherals, we have a device peripheral task which was added. And likewise, we had given an access permission, and we'd chosen create AD account and provision as one of the resource answers. So depending on what we've chosen here, we've made use of a Zoho circuit which is already completed. So the AD user was provisioned and it moved to the complete state over here. So it's now waiting for the join to be completed. So of course, we have multiple nodes which was branched off from this node. So the fork will wait for all of the nodes to be completed in order to drive forward to the completed state. Now let's navigate back and let's complete the approvals. Let's complete the tasks and see how exactly the request moves forward, right? So I'm just zooming out a bit for you to get a whole picture of how exactly the workflow looks like. Perfect. So now let me just close this out and go ahead with the approvals. So this is the Mac laptop approval. I'm just going to go ahead and approve this. And the next step is approving the Apple mobile approval. So I'm just going to go ahead and approve this as well. Right now, since all of these are approved, when I navigate to tasks, you'll see that there are a few tasks which are still pending. So if I go ahead and complete all of these tasks in real time, the workflow will then move to the next step. So let me just navigate to the workflow. So we've completed this particular task. We've completed these two approvals and these two tasks. So now we have to expect the fork to be completed and for the ticket to move to the next status, right? So in case you have a task which is still pending, right? You can expect a task overdue action, which is a notification to be triggered. And if you want to escalate that via another notification, or if you want to do an API call and invoke a Teams message or a WhatsApp message, that is also possible using our custom function and our API webhook capabilities, which you can introduce as a part of your workflows. You can also do field updates by changing the field which is priority as high, right? So we have all of these which you can include. So these are the different nodes these are the different nodes and processes you can involve for your employee onboarding, or for your major incidents, or for your asset management. So we'll be seeing how exactly the workflow works for various modules as and when we go through this webinar. So now it looks like the workflow has been successfully completed. So the allocation was done. So the join had completed and then moved to the close status, and the workflow had then ended. So now when I navigate back to the ticket, you'll notice that the ticket is now successfully closed, right? So this is how the entire workflow had driven the status of the ticket from open to in progress, and from in progress to closed. So the tasks were added in real time during several checkpoints and after several approvals, right? So this is how you can have or build your own process and implement it within your workflow canvas for various ITSM practices. Now, let me show you how exactly you can create this workflow in real time. So I'm just going to open this workflow since we are familiar with this workflow as of now. So let me just initiate a brand new workflow and show you how you can drag and drop all of these nodes and how you can build it. It's extremely simple. So all you need to do is head to the setup area of ServiceDesk Plus Cloud, navigate to automation, click on workflows, and you will have a drop down over here. So since we are talking about service requests first, just click on services, click on new workflow, provide a name for the workflow. So let me call this as new employee onboarding workflow. So I'm just going to click on next. So this will enable a canvas for you to start building your workflow. So you can click on the green button, which is add node over here, to initiate a status, right? So for incidents and service requests, it'll be called as status. For your assets, it'll be called as states. And for your change requests and for your release management workflows, it's going to be called as stages, right? So by default, all the statuses of the tickets will usually land in the open status. So let me initiate this with the open status as of now. You can either then start building your workflow by making use of this drop down, which will enable the RHS panel in your workflow. Alternatively, if you want to do a right click, you can have a quick drop down with the workflow nodes, condition nodes, action nodes, Zoho circuit, and branch nodes. So this is a quick access function which we have, which will enable the options which we have on the right hand side panel, as in when you right click anywhere within the workflow canvas, right? So let me just start off from the left. So let me initiate this from the open status. So let me just open this in parallel. Oops, yeah. So from start, we then have open, and then we had a reporting manager approval. So it's as simple as dragging and dropping the approval node within the canvas and adding a reporting manager approval as the name. So I'm just going to call this as reporting manager approval. You also have different wait for conditions. So it could be anyone to approve, everyone to approve, first response action, majority to approve, or percentage to approve. So you get to choose what is your wait for condition, and you can then make use of organization role users to choose the reporting to manager of the requester, right? It could be organization role users, it could be request users, which is requester, technician, or editor. Since we are in the service request, we also have the editors, but it wouldn't be available for your incident workflows. And then you can use the regular users, whoever are approvers, can be added over here as well, right? And as and when you click on save, your reporting to manager will be added over here as one of the nodes. So all you need to do is connect the open status to the approval status, and that's it. So the next part we are looking at is changing the status from open to in progress. So as in when you drag and drop the workflow node, you will have the status which can be chosen from here. So you have the in progress status, which is next. All you need to do is just click on the status, click on save, and then you'll have the in progress status, which is next. So if it is approved, it moves to the in progress status. And from in progress, we checked for the resources, right? So which means we have a couple of checkpoints over here. We checked for the laptop and for the mobile, and we have a condition node over here, right? So we have an if condition which can be introduced to check a yes or no condition. So for example, is let's call this as laptop required, and we have a field which we had added over here called is laptop required. So this is an additional field. So if this is a yes, right, so you can then expect the status to move, I mean the workflow to move to the next status. So this is how you involve a condition node. So it basically depends on what exactly you want to have as conditions. You can also invoke custom functions over here. You can also invoke multiple conditions based on and or operations, depending on what exactly you want to check in your business process. So for now, I'm just going with the is laptop required field, and I'm going with the yes condition. So from in progress, it checks, it goes to the resource, it goes to a fork, and then it checks for all of these. So let me just add this as well, and then I'll be able to better explain how exactly the fork can function. So let me choose laptop required and mobile required as the next condition. So here I'm going to once again choose the additional field, and is mobile required is yes is going to be my next condition. So here I have mobile required and laptop required as two different conditions. So from in progress, it should go to both of these, right? So now let's say if I click and drag over here, this is just a one single node, right? So I won't be able to initiate another another arrow from here to connect it to this part. So that's when I will need a fork operation. So when I scroll further down, you will have the branch nodes where I can introduce a fork operation. So this is allocate resources. So this was the fork operation we had seen over here, which is allocate resources. So from here, you can expect the fork to initiate an arrow here to laptop, to mobile, to device peripherals, and to access permissions. So let's take a look at this. So from here, you can initiate the fork, and from the fork, you can initiate one parallel flow over here to check if a laptop is required. You can also change the orientation if needed. You can change the orientation for almost all of the modules which are available, so that you can make your workflow look much more neat and clean as in when you're configuring the workflow, right? So this is one part of the flow which checks for laptop required. This is the next part, which is mobile required. And then we had device peripherals and access permissions. So that can also be added as nodes. For now, let me just configure these two nodes, and let me configure this left-hand side of the flow to show you the workflow capabilities, right? So then we have the resource switch. So depending on the laptop and the mobile, we checked for the laptop needed, and the OS needed, and the mobile type needed. So these were added as resource questions in the ticket. So let me show you how exactly that works. So we have the resource node, which can be dragged and dropped within the workflow canvas. So you get to choose the service template first, and you once again have a different condition type. So you can go with the if condition, which we just spoke about, or you can go with a multi-conditional node, which is a switch. So basically, you choose the resource over here, choose the question, which is the first one, which is OS type. You choose multiple answers over here, and depending on the type of answer you've received for the resource, you can then initiate parallel flows over here for each of these values, right? So that's the resource switch condition which we have over here. So I'm just going to remove this as well, and let me do the same thing over here for resource. So I'm just going to choose the template again. I'm going to choose the condition type as switch. I'm going to choose the same resource. I'm going to choose the mobile type, and I'm going to choose the answers, which is iOS and Android. So now we have laptop required, and we have the OS type. We have the mobile required and the mobile type as iOS and Android, right? So just to give you a quick heads up, so when you navigate to the details, so we did provide all of these details over here. Is mobile required? Is laptop required? Device peripherals required, etc. And then we filled in the OS type, the mobile type, and we also filled in the access permissions, which is creating the AD account and provisioning, right? So all of these values are what is being checked in the workflow to drive the ticket forward based on what is being defined in the workflow, right? So this is how you configure the condition nodes, which is if and resource. And then moving forward, you then have approvals. So it's once again as simple as dragging and dropping an approval over here. So for the OS type Mac, you can just drag and drop an approval node. You can call this as Mac approval. You can choose once again the reporting to manager of the requester, and you can click on save. So likewise, you can do the same thing for the iOS as well. So you can drag and drop an approval. You can call this as an iOS approval. Choose the organization role users. Choose the reporting to of the requester as the approver, and drag and drop this over here, right? So once this is done, if in case you want to add a task, you can drag and drop the task over here, and you can say provide laptop as one of the tasks, and you can drag and drop this and say provide mobile is the next set of tasks. And all you need to do is just place this wherever you need in the workflow, and once it is approved, initiate the task which is providing the laptop, and once this is approved, initiate the task which is providing the mobile task, right? So this is how you can configure the workflow which is available over here using the different condition nodes and using different approvals, notifications, and tasks, right? So we then have a Zoho circuit. So we also involved the access permissions as one of the resource questions. So let me just show you how I've involved that as well. So depending on the template and depending on the switch, let me choose the second question, which is access required. The question was access permissions, and the answers were these three: create mailbox alone, create AD account and provision, create all access. So depending on what values were chosen over here, you can initiate another fork from here. Let me choose, let me place this at the very end so that you don't get confused, right? And so from here, once you initiate a node from here, you can choose Zoho circuit. You can also drag and drop the Zoho circuit from here. You can call this as AD provisioning. And once you click on save, a Zoho circuit can be added. Once again, Zoho circuit is available in the enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So you need to define how exactly your workflow should work for your Zoho circuit to automatically add your AD accounts. So if you're using an on-prem AD or Azure, or if you're using AD Manager Plus, we can automate all of the basic requirements for you. So in case you need any best practice recommendations, or if you need any help in configuring Zoho circuits, please reach out to us and we'd love to help you. Right. So this is what we had involved over here in this particular use case. So we had checked for this particular criteria. So for mailbox, we had a different circuit. For creating an AD account, we had a different circuit. And then we had a task which was added for creating all access. Right. So we've also made use of a timer over here. So in case you don't receive any response from the end user, or in case you want to escalate to the end user, or if you want to escalate internally to your technicians or stakeholders after checking for a particular time, or if you want to do a certain set of automation like triggering notifications, triggering an API call through WhatsApp or through any of your instant messengers like your Teams, you can make use of timers as well. In case you want to post announcements, so let's say you want to alert a set of stakeholders, or you want to alert a set of technicians that you've onboarded, or you've completed onboarding a particular set of users, or you've completed a certain set of tasks. So depending on where exactly you want to notify the users, you get to ensure that the custom function is used to perform the API calls, or you can also make use of the webhook to perform such automation. And you can ensure that you can also alert users using your third-party tools as well. Right. So all of these are just drag and drop operations. So you can just drag and drop it, and you can create your own custom function if you already have, or you can always reach out to us and we'll help you create a custom function depending on your business needs. Right. So this is how you can create various drag and drop nodes and involve within your canvas. And once all of these branches are branched out, you can then make use of the join statement to join all of these paths and then drive to success, just like how we've done over here. Right. So all of the forked operations will be joined over here, and you can then ensure that the close status is involved, and you just point it to the end statement over here. Right. So this is how you can create an end-to-end workflow in your ServiceDesk Plus Cloud workflow capability option. So what we saw right now was for service requests. Similarly, you can create one for incidents. So it's exactly the same. All you need to do is create a new incident. So let me call this as major incident workflow. So I'm just going to click on next. So you'll have the same workflow canvas, a brand new workflow canvas. You can select the status, and from here you can either right click to enable the drag and drop nodes, the quick access nodes, or you can always click on this tiny arrow mark over here to enable the RHS panel, where you'll have the same set of nodes which you saw earlier for the service request. Right. And this is how a major incident workflow would look like. So you can have your major incident workflow configured within ServiceDesk Plus. I'm pretty sure all organizations and all domains who have been registered for this particular webinar will have a major incident management practice and a workflow. But if in case you haven't incorporated that yet in your ServiceDesk Plus instance, and if you would love to implement it, please write to us and we can help you with the same. Right, so you can check for different conditions, different priority, and you can ensure that you drive your incident management process according to your needs. So I've created one for a general incident, which then navigates to a different template. So this is how a general incident workflow looks like. So as and when the ticket is created, it moves to the open status. So from here, we've made use of the wait for node, so which is once again a condition node. It just waits for a category to be added. So it's as simple as wait for. You can either go with a condition or you can go with a custom function. We've made use of a custom function here. So as and when a category has been filled in the ticket, it then checks, it then moves to the next status, which is in progress. It checks if it is a major incident, and if it is a major incident, it then moves to the next node, which is notifying technicians about the major incident. It then updates the field to a major incident template field, right? And the major incident template will in turn have a different set of automation in the backend. So when you navigate back to your templates and forms, and when you go to your incident template, you'll notice that the major incident management template has a life cycle in place and not a workflow. Like I mentioned, at any point of time, you can only have either a life cycle or a workflow for any single template. And this is how it works. So when you navigate to a particular template, you will have workflow slash lifecycle as one of the fields. So as and when you've configured the workflow, as and when you've built your entire process, be it for your onboarding, for your JML process, or for your major incident or your emergency change process, all you need to do is navigate to the corresponding template and click on this particular drop down. So if you've configured a workflow for your incidents, you'll have the corresponding workflows populated over here. Alternatively, if you've configured life cycles, your life cycle will be populated over here, right? So the general incident workflow, which I had shown you earlier, was routing the entire request to a different template, which has a completely different set of automation, which is a life cycle, which will be triggered for the major incident process, right? So that's how you can drive based on different checkpoints, and you can change the entire set of automation from one to the other. And you can also make sure you make use of different custom functions, different different drag and drop operations, including your webhooks, to alert users even on your third-party applications if they are not always in their mobile or laptop or within ServiceDesk Plus. Right, so that's for your incidents and for your service requests. We then have workflows for problems as well. So this is a quick sample of how you can implement a problem workflow. So you have, once again, the same set of nodes, which is the flow node status. You have different condition nodes, you have action nodes, and you have branch nodes. So if you notice, Zoho Circuit is not available here. So like I said, Zoho Circuit is available only for certain ITSM practices. So yes, so depending on your needs, depending on how exactly you want to configure a problem management workflow or an incident management workflow, you just need to choose the type of workflow you want to build and add them within your ServiceDesk Plus Cloud application. Right. So talking about the problem workflow. So once the problem is initiated, it checks if a workaround is needed. If you want to automatically create a ticket in your ServiceDesk Plus instance, you can make use of a custom function. You can check and wait for the request completion using the wait for node, and you can automatically update the problem with the fields you've been working on your request. So that is a part of the custom function capabilities I was talking about. And in case a workaround is not needed, and if you want to create a change automatically, you can also make use of this particular custom function node, and you can create a change. Alternatively, if you're working on Jira, or if you're working on any other third-party application to track your issues, or if you're working on several projects, if you want a record to be created on your third-party applications, you can always make use of custom functions or webhooks or even Zoho circuits as and when required. Of course, Zoho circuits is not available here for problems, but for incidents and for changes, you can make best use of these. And yes, depending on several checks, it can then move to resolved and then closed, and the workflow can get ended over here. So this is how you can configure a workflow for your problems. And navigating to the very last option, which is for assets, you can create an asset workflow like this. So as and when your assets have been scanned and brought into your inventory, it will be in the in-store state. From in-store, it then sends out a notification to the asset manager. So once the asset manager is notified, it waits for an assignment. So it checks if the user has been allocated to that particular asset or to that particular product type. So once the assignment is done, it then sends out another notification, which is the asset acknowledgement notification to the asset manager. It then checks for the status change. So from in store, it then moves to in use, and from in use, it could go to in fault, recovered, missing, expired, or disposed. So as you can see, these are just different states, and I've involved a multi-state node over here, which is a switch. And depending on the state being chosen, you can then make use of different notifications. So for instance, if you receive a faulty asset from an end user or an employee, you can send out a notification that a fault has been detected in the asset. You can send it out to the asset manager, to the person who's working on that particular request, or you can send it to the end user as well. And then you can log a ticket for the fault asset fixing automatically using custom functions. And you can change the ownership of that asset from that particular user automatically to your sysadmins as well, right? And if you find that an asset is missing, you can also involve a similar notification to inform the asset security head or the asset manager, stating that the asset has been missing. And you can also log an incident automatically to investigate how exactly the asset went missing, right? And the incident can have another workflow in the backend, or it can have a life cycle in the backend to carry out a lost asset process or a missing asset process as well, right? So you then have similar flows for disposed and expired. It then checks if a replacement request is needed, and it then logs a request in the vendor's site or in the vendor's third-party application automatically using our webhooks, which is nothing but our API calls, right? So this is how you can configure a life cycle, a workflow, and a process can be implemented within your ServiceDesk Plus application for various ITSM practices. And let me just navigate to the asset management module to show you how it looks like. So when you navigate to assets, and when you try to create a brand new workstation, or let me just open an existing workstation. For example, this is a quick one. So this is already in store. So if you notice, you'll have the workflow button on the top as well. So as in when you click on the workflow, you will get to see where exactly the workflow is at any point of time. So the ticket had, the asset has been added. It was in store. The notification had been sent, and it's now waiting for assignment, right? So now if a user has been associated over here, so let me just try to associate this user. So if I associate this to a particular user over here, or let me just associate user here and click on save. So once the state changes to in use, and once the user is associated, you can then expect the workflow to be driven from this stage over here to the next stage. So the status is now in use, and it then waits for the asset assignment. So this is another field. So once this is fulfilled, it then moves to the next stage, and so on, right? So this is how you can involve several workflows and several processes within your ITSM practices. So in case you have any questions on how exactly you can implement all of these within your business process and within your environment, please make use of the Q&A panel, which is available on the left hand side of your screen. Or if you just wait for a couple of seconds, I will directly open up the Q&A session for you. So let me just do a quick overview on the frequently asked questions we've received so far. So will workflows replace life cycles during this particular upcoming release? So this is one of our frequently asked questions. So to give you an answer, it's no. So workflows will not replace the life cycles. Workflows will be a separate automation capability. But like I mentioned a couple of times before, you can only make use of either a life cycle or a workflow for any particular template you're working on, right? So The next question was, would you bring transitions within workflows? So transitions were nothing but manual touch points you had within your life cycles. So let me just give you a quick preview. So when you navigate to your life cycles, and when you open a particular life cycle, you will have these green rhombuses which you see. So these are the manual touch points. So before, during, and after the click, you can expect a certain set of automation to be triggered. So will these be involved as a part of the workflow is something which we've been frequently asked. So this is being added to our, I mean, this is being currently worked on. It is in our roadmap, and yes, it will be available in future. We don't have an ETA for this, but yes, it will be available in the future. So the last question was, will workflows be a part of my current edition and subscription? So like I was mentioning earlier, the availability of the workflow editor depends on which edition and which subscription you are a part of. So if you are in the standard edition, you will only have the incident workflow editor. If you have the service catalog add-on, or if you are a part of the enterprise edition, you will have the the service request workflow capabilities as well. So in case you are in the enterprise edition, you will have you will have access to all of the workflows. But then if you are in the professional edition, you will have the asset workflow capabilities in addition to the incident workflow capabilities. So in case you're confused with what exactly you have, or in case you need any insight on how you can best leverage all of these workflows, please write to us or let us know, and we'd love to help. So with that, we've come to a very end of this webinar. I hope this webinar was productive, and I hope you'll take a few key points from here, and you'll think about how exactly you can make use of these automation capabilities to enhance your business process within your environment. See you once again, and see you in the next webinar session as well. Thank you so much. You have a great day ahead. Thank you.